Aharen-san is Indecipherable, or Aharen-san wa Hakarenai. What is this show about? It is essentially Komi-san can't communicate, but funnier, better. The side characters aren't annoying. It's cute. The subtitles are better. Go watch it. Thank you for watching. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Don't hit the dislike button. Don't hit the dislike button. Nobody can see it anyways, except for me, which defeats the purpose of them removing the dislike button. But beside the point... Yes, Aharen-san is a great show so far. I really enjoyed it. I've watched the first 2 episodes of the series, and this is my first impressions, so let's jump right into it. Aharen-san is essentially from the creator of Denki. So if you watched that series, I don't know how long ago, 6 years ago, I don't remember. It was about pretty much a bunch of people that were working at a comic book place, and they were all like these very young-looking characters. This is the style of this creator, and it definitely kind of transfers over to Aharen-san as... Well, mainly the main character, Aharen, is very much so in that kind of smaller, chibi-sized character, smaller, younger-looking character within this setting. But our main character is Matsuboshi, and he is essentially sitting right next to his neighbor in his class, Aharen. And as he just started his school days here, he quickly wants to meet new people. It kind of notes the idea that when he was younger, when his previous school, he was kind of an outcast. He was kind of, it's one of those character types that they look mean, so nobody likes them. It's that type of character. But essentially, he wants to make a new life at his new school, and so he quickly wants to communicate to his neighbor, which is Aharen-san. And she's very small, very petite, and as he tries to communicate to her, she kind of just looks over and then looks back. And so he thinks that she's ignoring him. So he keeps trying to communicate to her, at some point picking up her eraser and handing it to her. And at some point, eventually, he kind of notes, did she say something? But no, he just kind of lets it go. Well, as time goes on, one time, Aharen decides to get really close to him. And it's all for her to communicate to him and say thank you, pretty much. She's very soft-spoken. As we'll find out over time, this is for a reason. She's afraid of communicating to people. She doesn't know how to communicate to people. Again, very similar to Komi-san can't communicate. But it's different in the idea that Aharen's had a bad experience in the past. It's not a case of like Komi-san where it's just how she is and she's trying to figure out how to break out of it. Aharen she used to be very open, very communicative to people, to the point that people didn't like her. They thought that she was too forward. She was too communicative. She was too attachy to people. And so she was kind of deemed as, creepy, and they kind of brushed her away. Well, in her new school, she doesn't want to do that again. She doesn't want to communicate to people. She doesn't want to bond with people. She just wants to stay alone because she's afraid of that. And so as Matsuboshi is really trying to, connect with her, at the same time, she's afraid to return that communication because she's afraid of too much. She's afraid of doing too much and driving him away. So it's kind of a mixture of two. You have Aharen-san over here who's afraid of communicating to people because she's afraid of driving them away again, which you'll kind of note. You kind of see that with Matsuboshi when he finally says, it's all right. It's okay. You don't have to stay your distance. She quickly, gets really close to him. She's hugging him and stuff like that. It's just, she doesn't have social boundaries. It's either all the way or not at all. That's really Aharen. That's really kind of the quirk that she has. She's very goofy. She's very grabby. And it's all kind of muddled up a little bit because she's afraid of talking. She's very soft-spoken. And of course, on the other side, you have Matsuboshi, who's trying to figure out ways of being able to hear her soft-spokenness. And so you have this whole montage of him trying different communication steps. He tried lip reading. He tried doing Morse code, smokestacks, all these goofy ways of hearing Aharen-san, to the point where it even kind of insinuates that he's tried so much to hear her that he's able to tell what type of coins hit the ground. His sense is so heightened. And later on, we kind of get into a side character, Oshiro, who is essentially Aharen's childhood friend. So she's kind of watching from a distance, making sure that Aharen doesn't get taken advantage of. And she's really afraid of Matsuboshi because, again, he's got the whole I have a mean look thing going on with his character. So yeah, my thoughts on Aharen-san is Indecipherable, or as Crunchyroll decided not to translate it, Aharen-san wa Hakarenai. It is a series that I've really enjoyed so far. The first 2 episodes, I'm totally in. Now, here's my kind of backstories here. On one hand, when it comes to this creator, Denki, I wasn't a fan of it. At the time, I really wasn't feeling it. It really did have that whole thing where it's pretty much like a bunch of 5-year-olds working at a comic book store, even though they're supposed to be adults. It wasn't in my ballpark at the time. I just wasn't feeling it, and I wasn't enjoying it. I really wanted to go back and check it out. I might check it out during this season just so I can feel if it has a similar feel to it, or if my reasons for not liking it back then are still holding true. Because I really do like the art style of this creator. It's one of those kind of boundaries that's difficult to work with because they're very young looking characters, and I think it works perfect here. Aharen is absolutely adorable, and it fits her character. She's very soft-spoken, and she likes to get really close to talk to you, and all that kind of stuff. It really works here. It just looks like a very petite girl. And it contrasts very well with Matsuboshi. He's very tall, he's very more gruff looking. Again, he's supposed to look terrifying to other people. So it works really well as like a contrast. And now my other backstory stuff. Not a huge fan of Komi-san. Now, I'm perfectly fine with people enjoying Komi-san. I see the appeal there, and I think it's great. I think Komi's fantastic. I didn't really like the side character so much. A lot of the comedy fell off for me. But it's easy to compare the two. Obviously, I'm already seeing people saying that this is basically a ripoff of Komi-san. You could probably say that. They're within probably 9 months of each other on publication. Komi-san released like in May of one year, and then the following January, this came out. Yes, probably got inspiration from Komi-san Can't Communicate. I think that's fine. There's a lot of things out there that take inspiration for something, or they copy something, but it's all in how they kind of go from that point. Obviously, a lot of things copied from, Mushoku Tensei, but I'm not going to just say I'm not going to watch any isekais after that. Everything has a purpose. And I think this does something very different than Komi-san in the idea that I feel like it's more focused on Matsuboshi's side of things and how he can remedy the situation. Whereas I don't really feel like with Komi-san, the main guy did much there. I kind of joked about the idea that this is kind of like Komi-san Can't Communicate, but with a better MC. I don't have so much of a problem with the main character in Komi-san Can't Communicate. I just don't think he's doing enough to help Komi. Whereas I think this is like more about Matsuboshi. Komi-san's more about what Komi does and how goofy she is because of her little quirk. Yes, this one has a lot of that with Aharen-san, but it's more about Matsuboshi and what he's doing to remedy Aharen's situation. Like I said, we technically had like pretty much a whole episode of Matsuboshi trying different ways of communicating to her. And yes, I think it works both ways. It's not to say that one's better than the other, it's more to say this is doing something slightly different. And again, I think that Komi's more focused on let's explore a bunch of really weird characters. Again, while this one's more focused on just Aharen and Matsuboshi. Yes, we included Oshiro, but it wasn't really much there. And unless they do something with her character, I don't see there being much purpose with her, which is fine. I think with the whole scene with Aharen and Oshiro and Aharen basically thanking her, it was kind of showing that they might do something else with her character, so we'll see. Now, obviously, this being a rom-com type show, I guess the main focus here is going to be, is the comedy good and is the romance good? I think the romance side of things, I think it's cute, so I really enjoy the chemistry between the two of them. This idea of there being almost a separation between the two, and then when you realize that whole idea of her not wanting to really connect with people because she's afraid of driving them away, it was really adorable. I really did like that. I wasn't really expecting much of Aharen. I figured it would just be, that's her quirk. She's very soft-spoken. But then when it gets into why she doesn't do that, and then the reverse effect of when he accepts her for who she is, her being really clingy, it was really cute. I think the two of them are really cute together. And again, it has that whole contrast thing between the two of them. I think they're really cute together, and I really enjoy their chemistry so far. It really does have this thing where Matsuboshi seems like a cool dude. And then on the other end, it seems like Aharen just really kind of has her issues, but she's really quirky. And so you do have a playoff between the two of them, which leads into the comedy, which I think is pretty solid. It's not really doing anything that I was laughing out loud with, but the entire time I had chuckles going on because it's got that kind of cute comedy. It's not really going for creative writing comedy, just cute writing. But there was a few points that had some really great punchlines, having this whole concept of her going to a crane machine and him immediately thinking, oh, I gotta get the toy out of the crane machine for her because she obviously wants it. And then having this whole montage of him trying to get the thing and then her coming up and then one-shotting it. And then her thinking that he wanted it. That was the cute kind of thing in that whole scenario. It does have points where there's some really solid punchlines where it's got to build up to something and then it switches things on you for like a comedic beat. And I do have to give the writer credit for doing a little bit of tie-ins to kind of loop things around. When you do have this idea where you're revealing the fact that this Oshiro girl has been essentially following them around to keep an eye on Aharen-san, to finally have this moment where Aharen tells her, thanks for walking home for us all the time. And it's like, well, yeah, that's right, because technically she's been following them around. Technically, she's walking home with them. It was kind of an acknowledgement of the quirk of one character for the sake of a comedy beat. But yeah, I think in the end, for people that are going to enjoy this series, I think it's kind of a mold between two different things. If you like that kind of comedy around very quirky characters with kind of these issues that they're dealing with that are kind of funny, and you like cute characters, especially because, again, Aharen-san is very cute. That kind of very closeness, the not realizing social boundaries that typically people have, that kind of stuff really does play into this whole thing. It does have a little bit of that kind of idea of having characters that are very close, but they don't really acknowledge it. When from the outside looking in, you're like, wow, this is like the most close couple we've ever seen in anime history. You don't get this close unless it's in that category of anime over there, but I'm really enjoying it. I think especially, and again, this is not a knock on Komi-san Can't Communicate. I think if you didn't enjoy Komi-san Can't Communicate and you do like cute characters, definitely watch this show. This is definitely right up your alley. Now, again, not to say Komi-san Can't Communicate is a bad show or anything. It's just it didn't work for me, whereas this is working for me. And I think that's probably because I think the big holding point for me with Komi-san Can't Communicate was the side characters. And again, I felt like most people acknowledged that. Most people that really loved Komi-san that seen my review were like, yeah, I didn't like the side characters anyways. I just like Komi. And I acknowledge that. I like Komi too. Whereas this one I don't think has got characters on the side that are annoying yet. We only have 2 episodes here, so we'll see how things go from here, but so far I'm really enjoying it. I love the art style. I love the 2 characters. I love the closeness that they get. It looks really adorable. And yes, Aharen-san is an absolute dork, and I love seeing her journey. So that's my thoughts on Aharen-san is Indecipherable. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit a like down below. Comment. Let me know what's thought of the series if you're going to be checking it out. And if you hate me for not liking Komi-san, you can tell me too. That's fine. As always, if you have not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We definitely appreciate everybody's support. We'll be doing coverage of all the anime this season, giving my first impressions on each one of them. I hope you guys will join us for that, as well as doing news bit, top list, and all the other stuff. If it's anime, it's here. Also, we definitely appreciate everybody that supports us through our Patreon or tips link in the description below. We also have a merch site down there as well. And y'all take care.